The Survivor Specialist Phil and Will are back, and today we are recapping episode number 11 of Survivor 49, final 7 episode. A lot to talk about here. We had a jog around an island. We had a block of vote found, and we have clarification from Jeff Probst from the Dalton Ross post-episode recap here of what actually would happen if Knowledge is Power was played. I think it was pretty straightforward. We'll just clear it up with anybody here. The block of vote cannot be stolen if it is played already. So
right.
block of vote is played beforehand, and therefore, if Sophie tries to steal it through Knowledge is Power, she wouldn't be able to if he played it ahead of time because she has to steal at Tribal Council. So I think that was pretty obvious, but I know some people were saying what would happen in that situation. Jeff clarifies it, so yeah, that's off the bat there. But Sophie Segretti goes home. Rizzo keeps his idol. Savannah does another little stare down of her latest prey, which I'm going to be honest, man, I kind of love. She just turned around and just stared at Sophie Segretti right when that second Sophie Segretti vote came out. Brings joy to my heart. Anyway, so here we are. We're talking about episode 11. Will, what'd you think?
I enjoyed this episode, but I don't want to sound like a complete broken record, but I feel like Survivor 50 is like taking another casualty here. Throughout this post-merge, yet again, another episode where it's blank or Rizzo going home, or it's blank or Savannah going home. And at this point, like this deep into the season, and I said this last week, like I've seen enough from Rizzo where it's like, I get why he's on 50. Bring him back. He's great TV, great confessionalist, great at Tribal Council. He checks all the boxes for what you want in a Survivor contestant, and I understand why they brought him back one season later on such a monumental season. So maybe last week it's like, okay, Rizzo could have gone home and earned a spot. I don't know if I'm there yet with Savannah, and so going into Tribal Council, it's going to be Sophie or Savannah. It's like, has Savannah really done enough to earn a spot on 50? And I hate to like open up with that, but it's hard to watch these episodes knowing that. And I think still it was a very strong episode. I've said it all throughout this season, Phil. This post-merge has been very, very strong. And I think it's stronger. It's going to get stronger on a rewatch because you're not going to let the Sophie or the Savannah and Rizzo of it all hinder your viewing experience because you're already going to know the ending when you rewatch it, and that's going to be okay. But overall, I did enjoy tonight. It's hard. It's hard with that one, Phil.
I think for me, the difference in tonight's than the last couple is I thought it was pretty obvious Sophie Segretti was the boot anyway. I felt like nobody really wanted her in their plans moving forward. I felt like it was pretty obvious. And I'm going to be honest here. And look, I've gone up and down. And with 50 and with the knowledge of 50, I'm not just going to sit here and be one of those people who's like, oh, Savannah must win. She's on the third tribe. She must win. She's on the third tribe. Like, whatever. I'm really trying to dissect this game how I'd be dissecting it if I was watching it without the knowledge of 50. But then obviously 50 is going to bleed in. It's really hard. I think tonight it was the best move for everyone. Now, some of you might be like, well, Rizzo and Savannah are going to do this. I think so much of why we wouldn't think it was a good move for other people is because we know Rizzo and Savannah are on 50. I think Steven, this was a good move for him. And here's the reason why. He has a block of vote. Everybody over there now probably feels pretty trusting of Steven. I mean, Steven, Christina, Sage all voted that way. Maybe they feel like there's a little bit of an avenue there. Maybe with Sage especially, there's an avenue potentially there. And I think the thing is now Steven with this block of vote goes in the next immunity challenge. If he wins, he plays the block of vote. His side has a 3-2 advantage. And then it's, hey, Sage, can you play double agent? I think after tonight, Sage might have the potential to play double agent a little bit. Maybe Christina can play double agent. Maybe Steven even himself can play double agent. I actually think that this wasn't the worst move for anyone in this moment. I think that everybody had a positive to why Sophie Segretti going home would help them. And so now with Sophie out, to me, it feels like Savannah's the very obvious number one target. I mean, she's been the target so often anyway, but then Sophie Segretti kind of kept popping up because, I don't know, she was good at challenges and maybe people were kind of saying that she was good. I didn't understand it. So for me, it's like Sophie's out of here now. I feel like everybody comes out of this feeling pretty good. And even if you're Soph Belardi here, who can finally be Sophie again, she's coming out of this with her knowledge is power. And she's got relationships on the other side where she could say, hey guys, I'd be willing to vote out Savannah or Rizzo. And right now, Savannah and Rizzo wouldn't see that coming.
Yeah, this one's tough for like, oh, did they make the right move or not? Like, we just don't know the perception that Sophie had versus the perception that Savannah has with the jury and with the players still in the game. I know we've said pretty much all season, Phil, that like Savannah's edit and the way that people are viewing Savannah within the game, like what we're hearing from players is that she's not trustworthy. She's like a little too intense and she's too manipulative. And like there's some villain tendencies that we've seen from Savannah that people have not really taken to. Mm-hmm. But tonight, that almost like, I don't know. It seemed like Savannah was getting a lot of call outs that is like, if she gets to the end, she wins. If she gets to the end, she wins. She's going to be such a big jury threat. She has such a good story. She's been the target. She keeps dodging it. And like, there's this mounting threat of hers. And when the longer she stays in the game and keeps avoiding actually getting eliminated, it's like, all right, well, you have to give her props for that. And I wasn't really there until tonight with Savannah actually being able to get the jury votes. But now from hearing the players, it's almost like the tides have turned and it's like Savannah is this massive threat. And I don't know what you think to this question, Phil, but it's like if Yellow Sophie and Savannah were sitting there next to, let's just say Christina, or like if it was a final two, but that's, basically saying Christina's there.
Yeah.
Sorry if that's mean, but like, I think we can agree.
At this point, it's true.
Who is going to win that in a jury vote, or is it going to be Savannah, or is it going to be Sophie? We don't have the answer to that. I think most people watching would be like, well, it's Savannah, but that might not necessarily be true. And so it's hard to say right now, was this the correct move? Like, was Yellow Sophie, was she that big of a threat? We didn't see much of her early. That's not how the players are experiencing the show. We're watching it. So I don't know. What do you think?
I am torn on it. I think that Savannah at this point probably becomes an easy target. So if you but here's what I mean.
But she was an easy target tonight. Like she was
an easy target tonight. But here's the problem with targeting her tonight, I think, from some of these other people's perspectives. If you target her tonight, Sophie Segretti is also somebody that you might want to easily target. I think, though, with Rizzo having his idol, I think what might scare some people is if Rizzo ends up knowing he's on the wrong side, now he plays his idol. Now maybe he does something. Now all of a sudden he's able to build up a better resume for him. I think at this point, the only person who wants to take Savannah to the final three is Rizzo. I don't think anybody else wants to sit next to Savannah at final three, which earlier on, I agree with you. It seemed like, well, she's not going to get the votes, so take her. Like, it seems like it's more villainous than anything. But after tonight, I do kind of agree. It feels like almost everybody. Christina wants to vote her out. Steven wants to vote her out. Sage, I think, played way too emotionally tonight, but we'll get into that. I think Soph is ready to make a move on her. So for me, it's like Rizzo is the only one who wants to take her to the end. And I think that if you're playing this as somebody who's kind of a threat, which I think Steven at this point is a threat. I think Sophie Bellardi is a threat. I think those two people, if you're playing this game and you get rid of Sophie Segretti, Savannah is now so obviously like the head of the snake. Like Savannah is so much higher up on the mountaintop of who needs to go home, that now if you're Steven, you have a shield if you don't win immunity, as long as Savannah doesn't win. If you're Sophie Bellardi, you can kind of play that middle swing position. I think there's probably more conversations going on as well that maybe Survivor doesn't want to show that might tip the hand if Savannah were to go home next week of, we got to do Sophie tonight, but Savannah's going to happen next week. And that's kind of the mentality Sage had. I think Christina would be on board with that. I think Steven would be on board with that. It just comes down to, is Sophie Bellardi on board with that? So is it better to get rid of Sophie Segretti here? I think Savannah was probably the layup vote, but I also think once you realize that Sage wasn't going to budge, is it really worth having to take the chance and having to play either knowledge is power, or if you're Sophie Bellardi, not just play knowledge is power, but totally abandon your alliance here at 7 to be the fourth vote for the other side? And is it worth it if you're Steven to play the block vote? I think Sage was so immovable that it just was like, you know what? Let's all just pile on Sophie. Sage will be happy. Sage will be calm. And then next week, Savannah's the target. People were bringing up Steven tonight. I still think Savannah's higher on that totem pole.
Yeah, it's tricky, and maybe it's worth going through each person, because I think you make some good points. Like, it's probably the right move for some people and the wrong move for others. Like, I guess that's not the most, insightful thing to say. But oftentimes it's like, why did they not take the shot? Maybe you're right. There's reasons to keep Savannah in the game. But like from where I'm sitting right now, it's like Steven has become a major threat. Like especially we mentioned him in the edit and everything. I've always kind of kept him as a winner contender. Like tonight, I really think he is right there, maybe near the top spot as who I think is going to win this season of Survivor. But you have Steven now that everyone's talking about. Good at challenges, likable, just got an advantage. You have Rizzo, who's, you know, making shows at Tribal Council and, you know, kind of directing a lot of these votes, telling people what to do. He's a front-facing strategic player. You know, he took out his idol at the very first Merge Tribal Council. He got up last week. That's a threatening player. And now you have Savannah, who is also being labeled as an extremely threatening player. And you're at final 7, and those 3 players are still in the game. I find it hard to believe here that Sophie Segretti was the correct move, and you're leaving Steven, Rizzo, and Savannah still in the game. I find that really hard to believe. And I still think Sophie Bellardi is still a threat to win this game. We heard a lot from her tonight. And maybe, just maybe, Sophie has this long game figured out. And it's especially with the knowledge is power, and especially because she hasn't told anybody about it. She's like, I am sticking with Savannah and Rizzo, and I'm going to steal Rizzo's idol, and I can't do it too early. Because if Sophie tonight, if she's like, you know what, we have or like it's 3-3, I'm in the middle, I can pull the trigger here on Savannah. If she's going to do that move, she also has to use knowledge is power tonight on Rizzo's idol, because you are flipping against Rizzo. So if you commit to voting at Savannah, now you're stealing Rizzo's idol. You have an idol in your pocket. Savannah goes home, but you're only at final 6. And now you're probably looked at as one of the biggest threats in the game. You know, starting on the disaster tribe, she's gone to every single tribal council, right?
All but one, I think.
All but one. Oh, because we had that weird, you know.
Yeah, the weird where
she went to every tribal council but one. She just made the biggest move of the season so far. She eliminated Savannah. She just took away Rizzo's power. Those are her allies. Cutthroat. She's likable. But then she still has to get through at least one of those votes without an idol. She either has to win immunity or somehow put the target onto somebody else. And that might be too risky. And so maybe she's waiting here and then she makes her move next week. So I can see that angle from Sophie. But from Sage, I just don't understand. Her line of thinking is like, Savannah has to go. Biggest target, biggest threat, biggest target, biggest threat, biggest target, biggest threat. 3 weeks in a row being like, we have to get Savannah out of the game. And now you have the numbers to do it. And now you're like, I'm going to take out Sophie because Sophie took out Jawan. It doesn't, I don't know. It's like the logic there is not adding up. And we always say this. I mean, she looks to be playing a very emotional game where it's like, because you took out my number one ally, now I have to get the revenge instead of going after the target you've been aiming for the entire post-merge. It feels like a missed opportunity for Sage. So what do you think on Sage? Right or wrong move?
Wrong move for Sage. Okay. I think it was the wrong move for Sage, and I honestly think it's probably the wrong move for Christina, but I think Christina's drawing dead, and it doesn't make a difference for Christina one way or the other. I think Sage got overly emotional. I think Sage drove this vote, though. I think Sage was probably the determining factor of what was going to happen, because if Sophie, Steven, Christina, and Sage all wanted to vote out Savannah would be gone. That's just how it goes. And I think what happened is I think Sage got emotional with it. And I think she said, I want to get the person who got my number one out of the game. You could see how emotional she got over Jawan, that she felt like she was really close with him. And obviously this was maybe a little bit more than just like, oh, we're an alliance. It felt like there was a real friendship there, something that really might have been bringing her back home a little bit. And so I do think that she played it too emotionally, but she's the one that decided this. And I really believe that once everybody else found out that Sage was going to go this way, everybody just said, great, that's what we have to do then. We have to take the shot next week. And I think that for Sophie Bellardi, she's in a position right now where she's got to make a decision. And I want to bring this up. This is from, what are we doing here? All right, look, we're going to block that. All right, so this is from the ChatBCC Survivor group chat. And Rachel Lamont says, do you have to name the specific advantage with knowledge is power? We've only seen people try to take idols, right? So the reason I wanted to bring this one up here while we're talking about it is because Sophie Bellardi is in a situation where we saw Steven not play his block a vote tonight, right? So at that tribal council, she could have stolen his block a vote because she doesn't have to call it a block a vote. It says it either has to be an idol or an advantage.
You ask, do you have an idol or do you have an advantage?
And if you say, you don't have to say, do you have a block a vote? So she could have stolen his block a vote tonight. Now, if he plays it before a tribal council, he can't steal it. But do you think, and I'm asking you this genuinely, do you think that if at next tribal, whether Steven plays it or not, doesn't matter because she won't know that it's played or not. Do you think Sophie Bellardi is more likely to take Rizzo's idol or to ask Steven for an advantage?
Rizzo's idol.
You do think so still?
Mm-hmm. I think that's where this is all going. I think that's why maybe I think that's maybe why Rizzo's still in the game, because we haven't even brought up the fact that Rizzo wasn't targeted at all and he still has his idol. Again, after this episode too, I'm getting that I tossed out this theory very early on in the merge. Like, is this the Xander story again, where the audience is like, man, this guy's kicking ass. This guy's got stones. This guy's not playing his idol. How is he sitting on this thing? How is he reading the room so well? He's social. He's strategic. He's likable. And then just doesn't get any votes. We heard from, I think, Sophie and Sage tonight that they are not worried about Rizzo. They do not. They're not. They'll sit next to Rizzo. No, I don't know if that's a correct read or not. But if there's those, likely one or both, one of them's already on the jury. They both might be on the jury. So I'm like, this really flipped in terms of like who does the cast think is currently a threat? I don't know if Rizzo, if anyone's taking him seriously. I really don't know if that's happening.
And so I think you might have answered your own question from earlier when you were talking about who the people who are threats are, right? You're talking about Rizzo because he's getting up and he's kind of making a show of it. Steven, Savannah. Well, Steven has immunity. Maybe they don't view Rizzo as a threat. And if Savannah is the biggest threat out there, if you're Sophie Bellardi and you steal the idol tonight and do flip and you do vote out Savannah, you're now the biggest threat. You immediately jump over Steven. You immediately jump over Sage. You immediately jump over Rizzo if he is a threat. So maybe Sophie Bellardi, I mean, look, it was Kyle last season, right? Everybody was like, when is Kyle going to do something? He made his move at Final Six. He got rid of Shaheen, and that is what won him the game, essentially. Got rid of Shaheen before Shaheen could make the move that he would get credit for. Kyle got the credit for the move because he took him out, and then it was down to him or Camilla. He gets the final tribal. Camilla doesn't. That's the end of the story. And so when
end of a boring season.
Yes, it's the end of a very boring story, but it's still the end of the story. And so I think that after all of these things that are going on, I think Sophie Bellardi is showing that patience is still probably the most important skill to have as a Survivor player. And I think almost every player who has played Survivor and won has had the patience of when do I make my move and when do I not? And I think she sees the writing on the wall. Like tonight, Rizzo is coming out of that tribal council saying, money in the bank, it's over. We are final three. I am taking this idol. I am getting to the end, and that's it. This game is done. And Sophie Bellardi has him right where she wants him. Now, if she doesn't make that move, huge missed opportunity for Sophie. Rizzo or Savannah is probably going to win the game. But if she does make that move, she is in the driver's seat, and then it is up to her to find a way to get to the end. And even if Steven is there, she beats Steven. But she's got to make sure she can still get there, because if she sits next to Christina and Sage at this point, I think it's a landslide victory for Sophie Bellardi. Even if Jawan is going to vote for Sage, I think everybody else is going to look at Sage and say, we don't really care about your game. We're not voting for you.
Yeah, and it's probably not fair to Sage. I think Sage has had some good game reads throughout this season and post-merge. Like, she's kind of onto it, and she's got a good feeling and knows, like, look, I can put a plan together. Let's do this. I think tonight she was so clearly playing emotionally that it almost like detracts from her overall strategic presence that she's actually had on this season, because she is an emotional person and she does kind of wear her heart on her sleeve. And it's hard for those people to like be taken seriously sometimes at Final Tribal Council. But I think Sage has done such a good job at like actually thinking through the game and like playing hard and playing to win, But tonight, this was not it. And now it's almost like she's just notified the entire jury that, like, I went through this round solely for revenge, and I wasn't really thinking about the game. That's not somebody you want to crown as champion of your season. So I do think this was a big hit for Sage tonight. And yeah, I mean, I do think she should have taken out Savannah. I really do. I mean, we've said for Sophie, it's probably if your plan is to steal Rizzo's idol at 6, or maybe even at 5, if that's your plan, then you can't really vote out Savannah now. So smart by Sophie. Okay. Said it's bad for Sage. I mean, Steven and Christina, I guess if Sage is unwilling, you kind of have to just do this, but I don't know. Do you think Steven and Sage could have approached Sophie Bellardi and been like, let's make this, like, try to pull one more vote in, because all you need is the one vote.
Again, I think it comes down to timing. I think that if you go to Sophie Bellardi here and then all of a sudden word comes out that, hey, Savannah, they're looking to get you out now. Like, all of a sudden, now you have no trust next time, and now Rizzo's going to play that.
Sophie already knows. Sophie was the one that, like, pulled Sage aside at the beginning of the episode. It's like, look, I'm willing to write Savannah and Rizzo's name down. Savannah is a threat. I don't want to sit at the end with Savannah. So I don't think, like, Steven and Christina, they have nothing to lose at this point. They were not in on last week's vote. They seem to be at the bottom. Steven's wearing the immunity necklace. Christina appears to be a GOAT at this point. So, like, what are you losing by going and saying, hey, like, this really is our shot? Like, when Sage is refusing to do it for emotional reasons, it's like, go and find that extra vote, find the person to do it. And then obviously we know that. So, I mean, hey, maybe they did try this and it just wasn't included in the episode. But yeah, it's tough. I think, I don't know. I'm having an issue with it just because it seems like, and this is a good thing, it seems like there's a lot of people who can win. I think out of the final 6 right now, I think 4 of them have a chance to win.
Yeah, because Sage, I thought probably could have had a slight shot coming into this week. I think she's done now.
I think this was the nail in the coffin for Sage. I wasn't very high on her going into this episode anyway. So
yeah, and so this past week on Predictions Power Rankings, I had Omer on, and Omer said that if Sophie Bellardi can hold on to her knowledge as power, play it at 6, get the idol, play the idol at 5, she's sitting in final 4 with a shot to make fire at worst case scenario to get the final 3. I think that's probably what she's about to do.
That has to be what she's doing, right?
Has to be.
So it's like, I can't really fault her for not turning on Savannah and Rizzo because she's got this, like, ace up her sleeve. So, I mean, but I guess good for Rizzo because he kept his ally in the game and didn't have to play his idol. But I don't know. I'm really getting the Xander vibes from Rizzo, which I did not think we're going to have. I did not, because they are playing a different game. Mm-hmm. Like, Rizzo has been whipping votes and, like, moving the target and, like, dictating a lot of the action in the post-merge. I don't know if Xander was necessarily doing that. And I think also just, Xander was 21 and Rizzo, was he 26 or something?
I thought he was 18. No, I'm just kidding. The way he's acting at this point, I thought he was just a child at this point. But
no, but I think that's like a big 5-year difference where, like, you're like more comfortable giving $1 million to a 25, 26-year-old than you are a 21-year-old, and not even like the conscious decision of voting or like awarding somebody $1 million with the age thing in mind, but just like subconsciously too. Just like you trust them that they are playing the game in a more deliberately strategic way versus kind of just coasting and I don't know, being silly. I hope that's not. I hope Rizzo is not like a zero. I really hope Rizzo's not like a 0 vote finalist here. I think what's more likely is Rizzo gets his idol stolen, goes out at final 6 or final 5, and is like, damn, I feel like I got twist screwed. I would have won the game, and it goes back on 50. Like, I think that's probably the story we're getting from Rizzo.
If that isn't the story we're getting from Rizzo, then Sophie Bellardi missed probably one of the great opportunities in the history of Survivor to make one of the great moves of all time and win this thing. But also in the preview for next time, they don't highlight at all that Sophie Bellardi is even considering doing something like that. And I feel like if it was going to happen, even though I know the previews don't mean everything, I feel like they would have hyped that at least a little bit of like, could Sophie go this route? I don't
know. I feel like it's the previews are almost like, if you see it in the preview, that means it's not going to happen. Like, what was the preview we saw last week? It was Sophie going up to Sage being like, I'm ready to turn on Savannah. Then we get a confessional from Sophie. It's 3 here. It's 3 here. I'm in the middle. I have the decision. What does she do? She doesn't vote for Savannah. So the fact that we didn't get it teased at all in the preview is maybe a good sign.
Yeah. I mean, look, she is set up absolutely perfectly. And I agree with you. Rizzo would feel like, look, he plays this perfect game. He does all these great things. In terms of, when I say perfect, I mean, in terms of with his idol, I also think with Xander, I think Xander was a little weird for some people. I think Rizzo is a lot more relatable than Xander is to most people on that island. I know that was something that a lot of people talked about with Xander, where it was like, he was deep. He would kind of go off on these like weird tangents. We didn't know. I feel like Rizzo, he's goofy. And I think people like that, but he doesn't go all the way goofy like Ben Katzman did, where it's not like you're sitting there just viewing him as a character. I do think they view him as a player. I would have a hard time seeing him being a 0-vote finalist at this point. I feel like he's got to get some votes. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like, he's probably going to get this thing stolen from him. And then it's just a matter of, if Sophie Bellardi steals this next week, does she steal the idol from Rizzo and vote Rizzo out? Or does she steal the idol from Rizzo and then turn around and vote Savannah out? I think that's really what the bigger story of everything will be at the end of the day. But if Sophie does this, there's no downside, right? You steal the idol at 6, the idol is yours. You make your big move, you get to 5, you have the idol, you play it, and then you get to 4, and at worst case, it's fire. Yeah, you probably have to win fire at that point, but she's big enough of a fan. I'm assuming she's probably done the whole fire thing. This is the time to make yourself a target because the jury's watching. If you take out Rizzo and then you take out Savannah, man, you got it over everybody. I don't care that Steven won a couple immunities and ran a marathon around a beach.
Yeah, I think that's where Steven is the lingering question here. Like, at what point, okay, I can steal Rizzo's idol and take him out and take Savannah out, but then maybe I'm still having to sit next to Steven. Is there a point where it becomes the right choice that you take Steven's advantage and then kind of maybe neuter Rizzo's idol and don't let him play it? Don't ever give him that moment. And you want to sit next to Rizzo and you take out Savannah.
I just feel like stealing Steven's advantage at this point.
You don't even know what it is.
Yeah. And like, also,
well, yeah, I mean, I get it. It's like an idol is more powerful, but at this point in the game, and I could be wrong here, it seems to me that if everyone is just gonna rank the players and who they would rank to vote to win at final 6, as we're sitting here, that Steven would get more jury votes than Rizzo.
Oh, I agree. I completely agree with you.
So if you're Sophie and you're looking at who you want to sit next to and who you can beat, yes, the idol is more powerful, but if the idol doesn't assist me in taking out Steven, then is it worth doing when I can use my knowledge as power?
It all depends, I think.
Steven.
Does Sophie think she can beat Steven, beat Rizzo, beat Savannah without the aid of making a big move? Has Sophie done enough? And I'm going to be honest, I don't know if she has, because since she got off that starting tribe, she hasn't really done anything. She's just kind of been a part of the alliance. Rizzo's taking the credit for a lot of stuff. Savannah's been the target. Steven's the one who kind of feels like the person who keeps scraping by, your Terry, Chris, whatever you want to call it, who just keeps scraping by. Can he get there at the end? That's all it comes down to. Whereas Sophie Bellardi has just kind of, her name's not coming up. She's not making any flashy moves. She's not really doing anything. If she doesn't feel like she can beat these people without doing something a little extra, she might have to get rid of all 3 of them.
Well, I think if that's where she's thinking, if she's thinking in that way, then she made a mistake tonight. Because if you have to get rid of all 3 of them, then you kind of need to start doing that at final 7. I think waiting until final 6 and you get 3 people out that you don't think you can beat, then you cannot miss a single vote. You have to, you have to go knock them out one at a time. I do think, though, I mean, I think she knows she needs to make a move, but it's almost as if, okay, I have my knowledge as power. I know where Rizzo's idol is. Now I know that Steven has an advantage, and it's almost like I know where the votes are going. She doesn't need to do anything because she knows she has something she can add to her resume. You know, often you see people, and maybe this was what Sophie Segretti did last week, and maybe this was a mistake. It's kind of like, I see that Jawan and Sage are dictating the votes post-merge. I've been kind of a follower. I've been kind of lost. I haven't been like anyone's number 1. I have to make my move here. I have to make my mark on this season. I need something I can point to on my resume if I get to final 3, that I was playing this game hard, that I had agency, all of this, all these buzzwords we hear. And then she does that. Next week, she goes home because people think either she's a threat or she can't be trusted or whatever the reason may be. She's gone. And so Sophie Belardi now,
who is still in the game. Yeah.
I think there's part of her that's like, I know I can add something to my resume. Whereas Sophie Segretti last week, it's like, if I don't do it this week, when am I ever going to have this chance to make a move? When am I going to have the numbers? When am I going to be able to make my mark? Sophie Belardi has this knowledge. She has knowledge of her knowledge is power. And that is powerful in of itself. That is not.
And she said tonight she hasn't told anybody. Nobody knows.
Told anybody. So she's like, I know I have a big jury moment. I know I can make a very big impact on this game. So I do think she still has a lot of winning upside because she is going to use it. I think it's just there's no world in which she's not using it. I think it's like, do you use it on Steven, which you get a weaker item back? A block of votes not as good as an idol, but you're taking out potentially a bigger threat, or do you take the more powerful item in the idol, but maybe leave Steven with his advantage and let him skate by?
Well, and that's where I think you have to weigh out these options right here. If you take Rizzo's idol, you are making the move. You, Sophie Belardi, are making the move. You are going to sit there at Final Tribal and say, did you all see what I did at 6? Did you all see what I did at 5? If you take Stevens, you're taking it from Steven. Maybe Steven goes home, but if you never get to play that block of vote, you probably lose to Rizzo or Savannah at the end. Probably do. I don't think she's done enough to beat them right now. I think she has the most ammo, which is why I still think she wins the season. I still think it's clear that she's going to make a move here. But I think that right now, if she were to take from Steven and get Steven out, Steven might be a threat, but she then doesn't give herself enough to do to maybe separate herself from Savannah or Rizzo. Again, Rizzo, who's been showy the entire time, even if it doesn't make a lot of sense, like his idol play last week, or Savannah, who's constantly been the alternate vote. So,
yeah, I don't know. I'm the more I'm trying to like paint a picture of how this all shakes out, I'm kind of thinking Steven might win.
I could see. So let's talk about Steven. So again, over on ChatBCC, if you go survivor49.chat, the link is right here at the bottom of our screen. It's also in the description for this video. So check that out. There's a bunch of people in there, and it's Rachel, Sandra showed up today, Carolyn showed up today. So there's a lot of people in there. And I feel like this is fun because you're getting people who aren't just trying to get likes on social media. Now they're just like actually saying like, this is stupid or this is good. And so when Steven got this situation of going on this journey where he was the only one who went, and we're going to talk about the fact that nobody put up a resistance to him going, because that is absolutely insane, but we'll get there. But the conversation that was going on over there between the ex-Survivor players was, steal a vote would be better. Christian Ubicki goes, this is powerful. This is so powerful. And then he's just like, kinda. And then you had Omer say, they won't know by who. Bitch, please. Because obviously they're going to know who stole the vote here. It's obviously Steven. Steven's the one who went on this journey. So obviously it'd be known that if there's a blocked vote, that's what would happen. So what do you think about this block a vote? And what do you think about Steven getting it here? Is it powerful enough? Or is it just like, it's so obvious that at this point in the game, everybody already kind of knows what's out there. So if Steven were to do something with this, like, is it going to put a target on his back, or is it so late in the game that doesn't matter at this point?
I don't think that matters. I will say in ChatBCC, Christians did some analysis. He says it's 9.5 times more powerful at Final 6 than it is at Final 7.
And I don't know how Steven said it was 10 times more powerful.
After Steven says it's 10 times, and then Christian goes, it's 9.5 times more powerful, which I don't think is accurate. But I wonder, like, Christian's so sharp, like he potentially could be right.
It's funny. I don't know if he's trolling or not, but
I don't know. It does feel like it is more. It is extremely more powerful.
I feel like I was disappointed for Steven coming out of this challenge, which we'll talk about, but I was disappointed for him when it was just a block a vote. I like that it was played beforehand, and yes, we're at Final 7, but I do feel like at Final 6 it's much more impactful, because at Final 6, at Final 7 you already have an odd number. Either you're gonna have a 4-3 advantage, you're gonna have a 4-3 disadvantage. A block a vote either just makes it 4-2, or it makes it so that it's a tie. Now you still need to flip another person, but now that you're at Final 6, If you truly have a 3-3 split, which I think Steven probably does going into this next episode, I do think Sage is coming back to that side. I think Christina's with him. And then you have Steven. If this is a 3-3, all of a sudden that block vote's really powerful. And I think what's also cool is that Rizzo is playing as if it's a steal a vote. So now Rizzo's thinking it's a steal a vote when he's thinking about his idol and all of those things. So he's probably thinking, ooh, if Savannah wins immunity, they're going to split the vote between me and Soph or something like that. So maybe that plays into his mind with the steal a vote, but really it's going to be a 3-2 vote, not a whatever. What would it be? It would be a 4-2 vote in the other scenario where then Steven could go 2 on Rizzo, 2 on Savannah, and then whatever. So what do you think about this?
I mean, it's almost like Steven has to play it next week, right? Because we've kind of said at odd numbers, it doesn't really do anything for you. It can just force a tie, and that's kind of awkward. Or it can make you get more votes on your side that you don't need. And you can't play it at Final Four because we don't vote at Final Four. So, like, he's going to use it next week. Or maybe if we know he's using it, Sophie, maybe that's a reason why Sophie has to seal it. Maybe she has no choice.
But she can't.
Oh, true.
Because if he plays it, she can't steal it. And then that is the ultimate womp womp at the end there. If she doesn't, if she tries to steal it at Tribal and waste it on that, that would suck.
Yeah, and I will say, like, I know we've talked about this before. And at least the show addressed it tonight. I still think this is like super bizarre how the block a vote is played. Because we had this one season, I want to say it was like 47, maybe 46. And it's like, we don't see them play it. It's like, when has that ever been the case with the Survivor Advantage that you play it off camera to a producer? Mm-hmm. Like, have a thing at Tree Mail and have them officially write the name down and do it. Even if you are doing it not at Tribal Council before you leave. I think that part is fine. It's a little wonky when you put knowledge is power in the game, and knowledge is power can only be played at at Tribal Council before the votes are cast. And then to have an advantage that has to be played before you go to Tribal Council, it's like, okay, well then you can't really steal that one. I don't know. I wish, like, the fact that it's played off camera to me is just,
well, they're going to play it. They're going to play it on camera this time. If he plays it, it's going to be in a confessional where he says, "This is who I'm playing it for," and we're going to know as an audience who he's playing.
But didn't we see this before? Where it?
I don't think they ever played it.
I think we did. I remember talking about it. And I was like so confused. I'm like, this was clearly just played to a producer, and they didn't film it, or like it wasn't on camera.
Noah Salmon says Steven's parchment says it expires at Final 6. So,
he's definitely using it, and Sophie can't steal it, which I think is kind of like, I don't know. It's to me, it feels wonky, but I wouldn't say it's unfair because like knowledge is power, even existing,
so overpowered in this situation.
Is like kind of unfair a little bit. So I'm not going to be like, well, that's cheap, because knowledge is power, you could argue, is kind of cheap anyway. I just feel like if you're gonna, look, I've always said I like knowledge is power because its presence in the game makes people have to like play around it and do creative things. So I think if you're going to, nope,
you came out. Will's microphone came undone.
If we're in this era of knowledge is power is existing, then I feel like it's kind of cheap to be able to play an advantage before you go to Tribal Council. It just doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't feel cohesive. It feels like it's like mismatched parts a little bit. We're getting a little bit Levi Stadium here.
There you go. Well, your mic's in the wrong one real quick, so fix that. But I feel like what I like about it is that because of when this journey and when this advantage is coming up, it's at Final 7. Knowledge is power is in the game and idol is in the game. Because if knowledge is power was, you have to call out the exact advantage that you are taking. Do you have a steal a vote? Do you have a extra vote? Like, no, but listen to me. Hear me out. If that's what it is, then it's harder, obviously, to pick that. When it's, do you have an advantage? Everybody's going to know Steven has an advantage coming back from this, right? No matter how strenuous it is, they sent the fittest guy out there. And honestly, it looked like he had probably about 4 more hours before he would have failed this. Like, it seemed like anybody could have done this. That thing hadn't moved at all. And it did look like he had to go on quite a journey there. So for me, I feel like because this advantage is coming into the game when it's coming in, if you're the producers, why are you putting this advantage in the game? You're putting it in because you want it to actually have an impact on the game. If you put it in the game and then Sophie Bellardi just goes, he's not in my alliance, I want his advantage, that defeats the purpose of even sending somebody out there on the journey. It's kind of a waste of time, in my opinion. So I don't mind this happening like this. Now, if this happened at Final 11, I might say, that's a little weird that he can have an advantage that maybe can't even be stolen from Sophie. But then again, if he doesn't play it beforehand and he's trying to save it, that's where the risk with this one comes in, is he didn't play it tonight. So if Sophie Bellardi was really worried about him having an advantage, she could have stolen it tonight, not knowing what it is, and just said, screw you, Steven, I don't want you to have it.
Yes, I'm aware he like tonight his advantage was vulnerable, but yeah, I mean, Sophie doesn't even know what the advantage is. I don't know. It just doesn't feel clean.
Yeah. It's weird. I don't know.
It feels a little like, to me, we've always played advantages at Tribal Council, right? So it just feels like, and I don't know if I have a solution for this. Like, what's the better way to do this? Well, you could maybe seat the people.
What about this?
I feel like they should play it as they. Well, that's what I was just going to say, but that comes down to seating. I feel like they should play it as they vote, and the other person's vote is just removed from the urn. And Jeff says blank's vote has been blocked when he reads them. So that's pretty good. And then I was going to say you seat the person who has the steal a vote or block a vote, and you seat them closer to the voting booth so that when they vote, then and you know who they're going to play it on. Make sure the person they're going to play it on is seated down the line a bit, so you know, okay, I'm going to play it, block the vote, and then when that person gets there, they can't vote. I like that idea.
I think what Mo is actually saying, though, is it's not that. I think what Mo is saying is everybody gets up and vote.
No. I know that's not what Mo is saying. I'm saying I like this idea also, where Jeff reads it, this vote has been blocked.
Mm-hmm.
And it like shows the vote, but this vote will not count. Or do you even show the vote? I don't know.
You might not even need to show it. You just say, hey, like someone. No, I think you would show it and say, Savannah's vote. This is Savannah's vote and it's been blocked or something like that. Or you don't even have to say whose it is. You just say this vote has been blocked. And the person who wrote it goes, oh shit, that was my vote. What the hell just happened?
Yeah. I think there's also, and we can talk through this, like, this is how steal a vote works. Steal a vote, you play before the votes are cast at Tribal Council, and you say, Phil, I'm stealing your vote. And you do it publicly. Is that a big mix-up? Does this have to be private?
I think if you do it at Tribal where you say, Will, I'm blocking your vote, then everybody can kind of reassess where they want to put their votes.
Right.
And because it's not as powerful as steal a vote, that's where steal a vote. I mean, if you get steal a vote at Final 7 and you're down 4-3, you're now
way too powerful. I think it's way too powerful. I'm glad that they did not put a steal a vote in the game. I do appreciate that it's just a block a vote.
But I feel like if you're in this situation, let's say now he goes to play it at Final 6, and let's say that Steven's in a scenario where he thinks he might have somebody on his side. Maybe it is a 3-3, right? But he says, Rizzo, I'm blocking your vote. Now, all of a sudden, somebody in his alliance might go, wait a second. Steven's getting a big show here in front of the jury. Maybe I want to flip to the other side. I feel like it gets a little convoluted. I feel like it's probably better. Like, steal a vote's already so powerful. Do it at Tribal. This isn't. I do feel like it probably has to be done in private.
I think doing it in private, it just feels weird to me to do it not at Tribal Council. That feels weird. And again, with the knowledge is power, it's like you have it like written out. This is how knowledge is power works. You can either ask, do you have an advantage? Do you have an idol? Have there been any other advantages in the game
that we've seen?
Yeah. This season, I feel like it's been idols only. And then this is the only advantage. So it's like, this is the only advantage for you not to be able to steal it before it's played, before the Tribal Council it's played. It's like, then why are you including advantages at all if the one advantage you can't block? Because like you do want to obviously use your knowledge as power to steal someone's advantage or idol before they use it.
Oh, yeah. Noah says Savannah's extra vote.
Savannah. Oh, that's right. Savannah had an extra. Yeah. Okay. So maybe it's a little bit. It just seems, I don't know. It just seems funky.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, look, I think that it creates quite a bit of drama for next week's episode, because next week's episode, you have Sophie Bolardi coming in, knowing that if she plays that thing correctly, plays it to take Rizzo's idol, she's going to win the game, or at least be in the driver's seat going into Final Four. And if she doesn't play it and she does decide, I'm just going to stick with my group, Steven can play a block a vote and take away the power from that side. I think it's very interesting.
Oh, no, I'm in on how interesting this is and where we're at and like where the advantages are. It doesn't feel like they're overpowered. Doesn't feel like there are too many. I think we're good there. I'm just thinking more of like taking a step back on any given season. Is this the best way a block vote should be played? And my answer would be no. I think playing it at camp, there's something that feels wrong to me.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about something that feels wrong. Why did nobody put up a fight of Steven going on this journey?
Wow. Strenuous, baby.
Like, are we kidding?
That's strenuous.
Doing anything.
That strenuous really, really scared people. Like,
I mean, how long do you truly think he had? Because he ran around a lot. It looked like he had to do like a half loop. It looked like it was like an out and back almost. I don't think he did.
No, that was not an out and back. He went around the whole island.
Did he go around the whole island? How big is that island? Like, how long do you think that took him?
Oh yeah, it's exactly 1.6 miles. Actually, no, I don't know, Phil. I don't know how long the island is, but
I didn't know. I didn't know if it was an island you'd ever been to.
He had to go around the whole island, and clearly they set it up so that he was going to have essentially infinite time to do this.
It seemed like, and I don't want to be a dick here, but it seemed like Christina or Matt or anybody who might not be in the best shape was going to be able to finish this, or at least be close if they just got around the island.
Yeah, I think at that point, it's not a timing thing. It's more like, I can't get across. And if you can't, you give up. And that's still at least something. Like, he did the challenge. I think this was basically an untimed objective. I think the timing mechanism was super awesome, though. Like,
even if it was the traders.
What's that?
Even if it was the traders, or it was
that really did surprise me. That especially, it's like, you're setting this, this up. And look, I think it looked like a very difficult task, like to get around that island, the rocks and the water. Also, it was like beautifully shot and was very cinematic. Like, it looked really fun. Like, I think there are some things I don't like about this journey, but overall it was like a very fun viewing experience. And then like Steven's emotional arc with it, I enjoyed. I am surprised they didn't like traidorize the ending though, with just like get the pot a little bit, like pull on the rope so it goes a little bit higher. What's that?
Didn't look like it moved.
It was so low. It was like almost embarrassingly low. Like, man, Steven could have been there for 6 more hours and that pot's not dropping in the water. It's almost like, and look, they've done this before, but they have these journeys to get the advantages into the game. They do not want to do an entire segment where they do a whole boat, a whole camera crew, whole testing, setting all these things up over the island, shooting all this for Steven to go fail. Nothing happens. No influence on the game. Like, I know it's kind of, it might feel even more lame to be like, wait, so they're basically just giving the person, whoever goes and does this, an advantage. Like, that might feel lame, but it would be more lame watching it and be like, wait, so we watched that whole segment and nothing, there was no dynamic, like nothing changed. That's why journeys are kind of lame in the first place. And that's why a lot of people don't like them, because it's like, if they get the advantage, it's like, okay, you just gave a player an advantage, which we did with Steven tonight, essentially. Or if nothing comes of it and people decide, I'm not risking my vote, I'm not playing the game, then it's a womp, nothing happens.
But so he lost his vote.
Right. I'm saying we've seen some journeys in the new era, Phil, where I have to go and then it's like, you have a choice to play. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not playing. And then you just turn around or like, but I'm surprised they didn't raise the thing up.
Mm-hmm. I'm surprised with that shot. I mean, when I saw how much time he had left, I'm looking at the shot and I'm like, holy shit, like do an extreme close up of a different hand even. Like, who cares? I get that the word strenuous was in there. I feel like if everybody had the confession, like, I can't believe we let Steven do this. I'm mad that we let Steven do this. I think Steven's a huge threat. Then why did you let Steven do this? Draw a rock, like do something. And I think it was, what was it, Sage, who said, I'm 50-50 on it, but if you want to go, okay, great, I'll go. And he just goes. Like, good for him for being willing to do it. again, strenuous. I think that's something that people have to learn. Like strenuous might almost be better than puzzles at this point, because puzzles are going to move fast. And if your mind is out of it, it's going to be harder. But if it's strenuous, it is probably going to be something that you're going to have way more time than you actually need to do.
Yeah, and we saw this earlier this season with Nate and MC. They had to move all those sandbags, and they were telling us how it was like one of the hardest things they had to do in their life, like ever, like physically daunting. But then you see the hourglass, and it's like, oh wow, they have like tons of time left, like so much time left. It kind of reminded me of the Carl one in David vs. Goliath, with the coconut in the tide. It's like he's gonna get there. He's on exile. It's like you're inserting that into the game.
Yeah,
that's all it is. It's a fun way to insert something into the game, and you get some visuals. But yeah, that's the journey.
Here's Noah Salmon. Did you notice that the combination was the same one that Jacob Kane had in the finale of 45? The numbers 18, 43, 25 correspond to JT, Gabler, Denise. So now you know, if you ever want to break into like Jeff's house or his bank account or something, 184325. That might just be it at this point. Those might be the only numbers I know. I didn't realize it was the same ones, but that's really
those are like the way those locks work and they're made are like super intricate and delicate. So I know they definitely use the same combos over seasons, but then they will also change them up. They will reset them eventually.
Because if I go out there, Will, and I go on the journey, should I just go and try 184325 right off the bat and see if it'll let me pull the thing out?
No. They just got to repaint them.
Okay. All right. So we've talked about that stuff. We talked about all this. What else do we have to talk about? The challenge. Twist on this challenge. And again,
a spin, if you will.
A spin on this shit. Look at that. Again, in the Survivor alumni chat, they were all like pissed at this challenge. I actually liked this challenge. I thought this challenge was good. And I didn't chime in over there because I knew I was going to do this podcast, but I was like, why is everybody so mad? And I feel like what I enjoyed about this challenge, I don't know if I'd enjoy this challenge if they did it a second time. But I think what I enjoyed about this challenge on the first time is you're so used to the really slow, grab the rope, you got to move so slow. They didn't know how to approach this one. So nobody's stack actually fell over, but it looked like it was getting
one person's stack fell over.
Who was it?
Sophie?
Was it? Whatever it was, maybe one person. But either way, I'm watching this and I'm going, man, not a lot is falling. And that's what people are complaining about. But I kind of liked it because it was, they didn't know the speed they were supposed to go. So he went, Steven went a little bit more aggressive than everybody, but he still almost fell there at the end. If he went too aggressive, that thing falls over. I thought this was a good twist on this challenge because it's not one that you could totally game for.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed this too. I thought it also just gave it a really cool look. Like I love the spool underneath and I love the bag going up and down the post behind them. And I think, yeah, like the best part of this challenge is that the players haven't really seen it work out before, so they don't know how fast they can go. And Steven really found that speed. Like this is probably the fastest you can go without it falling. For him to hit that on the first try, like, yeah, maybe not the most exciting thing that he never fell, but I mean, conceptually, I thought this was like an awesome twist on this challenge. Like I thought it was really fun. I don't look, if Steven's didn't fall, that happens, I still think it's a really, really cool challenge.
And personally, the other version of this is one of my least favorite challenges they do. They always have this at all the events and stuff that we go to. And I hate this challenge. I think it's like boring. I think it's too long. I think it's tedious.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it. I think this is a more fun version.
I think the concept of this challenge, and I think it's called a bit tipsy. I want to say, this is like your quintessential Survivor challenge to me. Like, and there's a reason they use it so much because anybody can do it. Like, anyone can. You don't need to be athletic. You don't need to be strong. You don't even need to have good balance. It's like how much focus can you maintain while going at a certain speed and keeping slack on a rope? Like that's why it's like such an equalizer. And you have a ton of lead changes. Usually we didn't tonight, but it's one where, you know, you're never out of it. You can have huge comebacks. Someone's about to put their, and that's the thing, the taller it gets, the more likely it is to fall. So there's like this built-in way to like get other people to catch up when other people's stacks fall. So like there's a reason why we continually see versions of this. There's obviously the Heroes, Healers, Hustler version of this. There is the Edge of Extinction version of this. Like, this is probably, I guess, what? There's now 4 iterations of this challenge, and they're all good.
The one that I am thinking of is the most basic. It's on the little wobbly table, and you have to keep the slack on the rope. That's the one I'm over that version. Like, I think the Heroes Hustler one, you're talking about the one that Ben won at the end, where it's like you got to lock it in and stuff.
Ben didn't win. He had the upside down U.
That's right. I like that one. Like, I think that's more fun. I like the mix up though. And I think this one, somebody said, somebody in the chat said fun, quicker version is better. I think that mixing it up every now and then is good. Like, watching the exact same challenge would be boring. I've seen it so many times. So give me this unique version.
You know the Edge of Extinction one, right? That I'm talking about?
I don't remember.
It's the one where they're on basically like the arc, like the boat shaped. It's actually an arc in an arc at the same time. And it's like, it looks like the boat and they're walking on it. And as you walk forward, it tips the.
Oh yeah.
You have the rope. I mean, that iteration to me is so cool.
And they've only done that one time, right?
No, they brought it back. When did they bring that back? Winners at War, maybe?
I've only watched Winners at War once, so I don't know. That would make sense. They haven't done it in the new era.
Let's see.
You look that up. I'm trying to think what else happened in this episode. I mean, I feel like we dove into pretty much everything that happened.
No, they did some motion for Winners at War. That's a shocker.
Of course they did. That's a new twist. Whoa.
I don't know when else they did the Edge of Extinction one. I think they've used it one other time though. Anyway, yeah. What else we got, Phil? We got the Philly and the Willie.
Philly and the Willie. I think the Philly is probably Steven. That's where I'll go.
Yeah.
Steven got the advantage. He won immunity. He didn't go home. He didn't lose an ally. Nobody was worried about it. Like, Sophie wasn't anyone's ally. Steven's fine getting rid of Sophie Segretti here. You said it coming out of this. It kind of feels like he might be the winner. I'd still go Sophie first, but Steven's starting to build a case. And I mean, for somebody who didn't go, and I'm going to get into my confessional counts because somebody had said that doesn't mean anything. And I got to read my response really quickly. After all this, he's right there, man. He's in the mix with everybody else on the season. I feel like he's probably, I know this is going to sound crazy, he's one of the fan favorites on the season right now. I think people like him more than more than Savannah, more than Rizzo. I think that he is the one people are pulling for. And if he wins the game, he wins the game. Nick Snyder says Sage deserves a Philly. It's obviously not Sage. Sage was terrible this episode, and she's probably going to win the other award.
Yeah. Sage gets the Willie. I don't know who else we could even give it to. I think Christina doesn't even have a shot at the Willie. Because there's nothing she can do to lower her chances of winning. And then Sage, this was I've already said it tonight, the nail in the coffin. Don't see how she recovers from this. She now has this reputation of being overly emotional. And I think Sage is more of a player and gamer than most people on the island even are aware of. And we've even heard some people call this out and be like, she's actually pretty strategic. She's actually thinking about this game pretty hard, but now it's I think now it's too late. Who is she beating? Who is she sitting next to? If
Christina but I don't know who the second person is.
Christina, Sage, and Blank. Blank is winning every time.
Yeah, I think she probably actually would have been better off having Sophie Segretti in the game.
Yeah, but I mean, Sophie Segretti probably beat Sage. I think I do think Sophie Segretti was voted out for being a threat. And we might not feel that way as much because we didn't see much from her in the pre-merge and she wasn't built up as a threat for the audience. But I mean, they took her out over Savannah. It's got to mean something.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't know. Does Savannah have winner equity? We still don't know. And if Savannah doesn't make Final 3, we'll never actually know if she had winner equity or not. That's the funniest part. We won't know. It'll always be the debate of, if Savannah got to Final 3, she would have won. I don't know if that's true. So I kind of hope she does.
I don't know. Predicting the rest of this season. It feels like Rizzo's going to get the idol taken. And that's a big reason, why you're on 40. And then is Savannah the Final 4? Does she lose fire making and she's the fall angel? If Savannah gets to the end, she wins. And not held as, the same regard as Jesse, but that similar position where, it's a sure thing that Savannah's got this locked up. All she's got to do is win Final Four immunity or beat Fire, and she loses both. And then we get like a Steven, Sage, Christina Final Three, and Steven wins. And that's how we wrap up. We like Steven, super likable guy. Is he the best winner ever? Probably not. Like, he wasn't really in control or early merge. He kind of floated, but did just enough. Went on the journey, grew as a person. Like you said, fan favorite. But then we're going into 50, who really, like, Savannah was really like the killer. Maybe she's got some moves that we haven't seen yet. Like, best is yet to come with her. And then Rizzo, he already got boned by Knowledge is Power. So it's like he's back. I think that's adding up to me right now.
I actually think, though, that the stolen idol would probably be at that vote. I think Savannah would go home unless she had immunity. I think if the idol gets stolen, I think Savannah is viewed as the bigger threat. I think Rizzo's actually your fallen angel kind of fourth place finisher. I think you're more likely to have a Sophie, Steven, Sage Final Three, or a Sophie, Steven, Christina Final Three, something like that, where then it's between Sophie and Steven for the win. And you have Savannah go out at 6, maybe Christina goes out at 5 because Rizzo wins immunity or something, and then Rizzo goes out at 4. Now, if the idol, if she doesn't play this Knowledge is Power next week and do anything with it, I think your final 3 is probably going to be Savannah, Rizzo, and Sophie. And then it would come down to who do they value the most. And I think in that scenario, they probably would value Savannah's game the most, unless Rizzo can really sell it. But if she doesn't play it, I mean, that's just crazy to me. I feel like she has to. I feel like the more likely scenario is she does, but who knows? We got Kennedy Haley here saying Sophie's never playing that Knowledge is Power, y'all. Could be.
I don't know. The way that we've been last week's preview teased that Sophie's willing to flip on Savannah and Rizzo. First half of this episode, all it did was tease that Sophie's willing to flip on Savannah and Rizzo. Did she flip tonight? No. But we just parsed out exactly why. It would have been too early, and she would have had to use the Knowledge is Power now, around too early. It's like, I think that's where we're building towards. And like you said, like, why wouldn't she? Like, she doesn't have a move post-merge. She doesn't really have a resume. So I think you have to use it.
I kind of lean more here with what Patrick Stahl is saying. So Steven, Sage, final 3 with Steven getting votes, but not the win. Sage gets no votes. So that is probably where I would lean right now with where this goes. But I don't know.
Yeah, I guess if Sophie is using this, when did she go home?
I don't think she does.
Yeah.
Unless it would be at Fire. Fire, she'd go home at 4.
No, but I'm saying I think Savannah potentially is our Fire. I don't know. Maybe Savannah loses in Final Tribal Council. I don't know. Like, there's so many Final Tribal Council losers on 50. It's almost like it's a theme of the season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
we'll see what ends up happening.
But I like this. I like where we're at. I think 4 people can win.
Mm-hmm.
And very rarely can you say that at Final 6.
Yeah. Well, and so on my Omer video, I'll bring this up now because I'm going to go to confessionals because I love it. And Leandro MV from Argentina, that's a drink for you right there. He said he's making a drinking game out of every time I say confessionals. But somebody had said, Phil, you're obsessed with the confessionals. Why do you count the confessionals? It's more about what's in them. But I just want to point this out real quick because I think it's impactful also to why we're thinking like 4 people can really win this game and maybe who could pull it out. I said the actual numbers have mattered quite a bit in the new era, more so than at any other time in the show's history. In 47, Sam and Rachel were 1-2 in total and average. In 46, Kenzie and Charlie were 1-2 in total, 2-3 in average. Q had more. 45 was more even. Austin was 1. D was 4, but she was only 2 behind Katura and Drew. Her confessionals were much more meaningful. 44, Jam, Carolyn, Carson blew everybody away 1-2-3. Kyle, Camilla, Joe, and Eva were 1-4 in total and 2-5 in average. Only Say was more. It's pretty much since season 43, it's mattered quite a bit how many you're getting. And so what I wanted to point out here is we're coming out of tonight's episode. And I know a lot of people have been saying, wow, my God, Savannah's eating up screen time. Savannah's got 64, Sophie Bellarity 56, Rizzo 53, Sage 51. Steven's now up to 46, and Steven didn't play the game until episode 5. He's right there with Sage, Rizzo, Sophie. And Savannah 3 weeks in a row has had 3 confessionals. And honestly, I thought tonight, the other 2 episodes, I didn't really notice it too much. Tonight, I felt like Savannah was pretty quiet. For an episode where her back felt like it was against the wall, I didn't feel like I heard from her that much. I felt like they were really everybody else was kind of telling the story of this episode, and she was just kind of there for a big portion of it. So I thought that was weird considering how big her edit was early on.
Yeah, I agree. I think she was kind of more in the background tonight. It did feel like this was like Steven's episode. This was Steven's like,
he had 9.
I'm down, but I'm not out. Like, I got the journey. He got the immunity win. He got some strategy talk. He got the reward. Like, it felt like his episode. I don't really know what point you're trying to make, though, with the confessional counts in the seasons. Like, yeah, the people who last longer in the game are going to have more confessionals, especially with 90 minutes.
Yeah, but I'm talking average is higher, too. It's not just the number. The average is higher. And most of those people going into the finale were already at the top with higher averages.
Well, yeah, averages are going to be higher the longer you last because there's fewer people each episode.
That's not true.
What?
Zoe from Marquesas and shit had like 0.2 per, but no, I'm saying that's not true.
You can pick out outliers and exceptions. I'm saying, generally speaking, when you start a season, there's 18 people, and so it's tougher to every confessional that they choose. They're picking 1 out of 18 people of who's giving us the confessional now. When you start the finale, there are 5 people left, so it's every confessional, you have a 1 in 5 chance at getting it. This is, if we're treating every character equally. So what I'm saying, and especially this is exacerbated with 90 minutes, because then the lead almost goes up because you're giving more time. The farther you last is now even more valuable because there's more minutes in the episode. So it's like, if your average will go up because there's fewer people to give confessionals to.
But what I'm saying is, though, they don't treat everybody equal. So the people who are getting more are more meaningful. Mitch last season had 2 in the episode before the finale and 3 the episode before that. There are people who get over. Look, Christina had 2 this week. Savannah has had 3 weeks in a row. Her average has gone significantly down. So that's what my point is like, just because you go further, the people who actually are going to sit at that final tribal are getting the better averages throughout the entire season more often than not than the people who.
What was Sue's average?
She's a disaster. Not high, that's for sure. Like, Mitch was low. Like, so it's not necessarily like you had somebody like go out really early. They like to pick and choose who they focus on. And I'm just saying that right now they're not focusing on Savannah really. Savannah has the most this season, but they're not focusing on her much in these last couple episodes at all.
Yeah. I don't read it in too much because it's not like they're counting me like, how do we want to divvy out the confessionals? It's like, no, who gave good content, whose content is relevant to the story, who's poppy on camera, who has the funny quips, how did the vote play out, what are we trying to set up the audience, who are the ABC candidates for this tribal council, who told the best part of the reward. Like, that's kind of how they do it.
Say something about that, though.
Sure.
Why on a season before 50 where 2 of your players are coming back are you having them get overshadowed by Steven and Soph Polarity in episodes? I mean, that's where it also, I think, tells a little bit more. No, I mean, Steve, if you would think that Rizzo and Savannah were giving the best content at this point, that's why they're coming back for 50.
Right. I wouldn't say that Steven and Sophie are overshadowing Savannah and Rizzo in any way. I think Savannah and Rizzo have been like pretty steadily fed to us throughout the season. And, Steven and Sophie are clearly big. I mean, we're down to final 6. Like, we're going to know all these players. They can't give them all to Savannah.
Christina?
No, but Christina.
You said you're going to know them all, man. I listen.
I think we actually do know. I feel like I do know Christina. I don't think we need to hear from her. But I get what you're saying. But yeah, I mean, the longer you last, the more important you are to a season and the more influence you have on it. Not everybody. There's going to be Christina. There's going to be your Sues. But if you're lasting deep into a season, that's pretty impactful. So they're going to give you more confessionals.
I think also, though, what's pretty different about this season and kind of maybe what I'm looking at is Steven tonight, I know, went on the journey. So he was obviously going to get a lot. But I just feel like Savannah was so high for so long. And for her to kind of just be like dropping off now, like, again, tonight, I feel like she was barely there. And yeah, I know Steven went on this journey, but you still heard plenty from Sophie Segretti and she got voted out. You still heard plenty from Rizzo. You still heard plenty from Sophie Bellardi. So I'm just surprised at where we've gone with Savannah's edit. If she were to win, being that she's going to play back to back, I'd be surprised that for 3 episodes in a row, from final 9 to final 6, she's getting 3 confessionals an episode. Like, you would think they'd want to be like, this is the greatest player we've ever seen. You got to be paying attention to her nonsense. I mean, they did it with Russell. They kind of did it with Rupert. Like, and he was only in final 8. Like, you would think they'd be doing that with Savannah a little bit more if she was going to be the actual winner of the season.
Yeah. So. I've not really ever been on the Savannah winning train. I think, if anything, but I don't know. Yeah. This episode, she had so many people talking about how much of a threat she is to win, which we just hadn't heard that at all this season. Kind of came out of nowhere.
It did kind of come out of nowhere. I agree with you. So who do you think actually will win then? If you're a betting man, because I know you don't do predictions with me anymore. I got Wendell this weekend at 3:30 on Sunday. I got Brandon Donlin tomorrow night. So I'm going to hear from both of them. But what do you go?
This is tough. I'm gonna go Steven, man.
Yeah, that's where you're at now. You were on Sophie before that, or were you? Yeah, you were sticking with Sophie before that.
Yeah, I mean, Sophie actually had a pretty good episode tonight too. Like, we got a lot of her perspective, and that we go into that vote being set up. It's 3-3. I'm in the middle. I'm the one who holds the power. It's usually a pretty good sign. Yeah, but it did feel as though we've been like checking in on Steven every step of the way, even though we hadn't needed to. And he's gotten a lot of like personal and growth content. I mean, maybe he's the growth arc guy. Usually get one like major growth arc. I don't know. Probably. I mean, I do still feel like it's between those two. Those are your 2 front runners for me, at least.
Steven and Sophie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. I mean, Christina, I give pretty much 0. Sage, I'm at like 1%, 2%. Rizzo, I'd probably say is like 15%. Maybe Savannah's like 16, like, and then everything else is divvied up. I don't know. I feel like Steven and Soph are both in it. I'd probably say Soph. I'm still leaning towards probably as a better than.
Hey, that was my preseason winner pick. So maybe I pick Steven now, and then it's like, wow, look who called it at final 6 after his big episode. Will was all in on Steven, and then if Sophie wins, it's like, well, look at Will, man. He called.
Look at Will just jumping ship on a boat that's sailing fine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Now, do you think that if Steven wins here, is he so similar to Kyle? Like, back-to-back winners of Kyle and Steven, I feel like that'd be very similar vibes.
They feel like they're the same archetype, yeah.
They do.
Different games, though.
Yeah, well, Kyle played, I think, from the top the entire time. Steven's been on the bottom forever.
But yeah, definitely similar vibes.
Yeah. All right, we'll see what happens. All right, well, we're going into final 6. Tomorrow, either going to be live at 7:30 p.m. Eastern with Brandon and just me and Brandon, or we're going to be live at 5 with Brandon, myself, and Blake. We'll have to see if Blake can make it or not. So stay tuned. Follow us on socials to find out. I know. And then Survivor Rewind will be tomorrow night. McKenna and Kyle got Amazing Race Recap tomorrow night. And then on Sunday, I got Wendell at 3:30 for predictions and power rankings. So, big week ahead. Brandon Donlin tomorrow, Wendell on Sunday. Those are 2 exciting guests for everybody.
Amazing. Yeah. Amazing. And if you haven't checked out Pathways, my daily puzzle app, and packs of levels, that is in the description. I think a lot of the I can't really tell, but it seems like a lot of specialist listeners like played it because there's way more downloads after Wednesday night last week, and a lot more reviews, like a lot more 5-star reviews. Like, I think there was like 1, and then there's like 10 or 12 now. So like, thank you to the people who have been leaving nice reviews, and thank you for playing. And if you haven't, check it out. Again, if you ever want to be on Survivor, you got to be good at puzzles. So daily puzzles are your thing. Definitely check it out.
Yeah, so check that out. Also, today was Spotify Rap Day. So if you ended up having us in your top or anything like that, I know some people are adding us on social media. Do that so that we can share it. I know we are Kyle Frazier's most listened to podcast. Did you know that?
I did not know that. That's pretty awesome.
He shared that with us today. We were his top podcast.
So Kyle listened, and he was listening to us before he went on to play, right?
No, I think he discovered us. His wife loves us.
Okay.
And so I think she was like, hey, Kyle, you should listen to this. So we only got the news from Kyle. I'm sure his wife's numbers were even higher.
Yeah. I mean, I'm wondering, do we need to rebrand like the podcast of Survivor winners?
Yeah. Tommy, him, Adam.
Adam, I mean, as like, that's when we were back when we had like 80 subscribers. Adam was like diehard playing the bootless game and stuff.
Yeah.
And then,
I mean, we do have to rebrand because Dondi got canceled. So I can't have Dondi in there anymore.
Oh, Dondi, R.I.P. Dondi. I didn't watch season 2, but it seemed like people were high on season 2.
I'm surprised it got canceled, honestly.
Really? Yeah. I mean, felt like a very expensive show, and not just from the prize money. It just seems like a lot, like, I don't know, a big part of why reality TV exists and why there's so much of it and why a lot of these shows last for a while is because they're not that expensive to make. But it felt like they were making one of the more, like, the most
and then David
expensive house reality competition shows you could possibly do. I don't know if I'm going to go back and rewatch it. How did he break it? That's what I've heard too, that like the format broke.
He won the biggest prize in reality TV show history, so they can't top what they did last year. They don't want to top what they did last year, so it's like.
But that's part, like, when you have the premise set up in the way that it's set up, like, you can't be surprised when someone wins a big prize. Like, you can't, like, that's part of it. And usually when you do a budget for a game show like that and you have like this mysterious prize, you don't know how much money you're giving away, you usually budget in the worst case scenario. So like, what was the most amount of money he could have won?
It was like 15 million or something.
Like, that's a line in the budget because it has to be. You have to account for it. Sometimes too, for big jackpots like that, I don't know if NBC would need to do this. They have insurance companies, so it's like, in case you, like, in a competition where, like, there's like a chance they win 15 million or 20 million, but it's like, that's, 10% chance, or like not like 1% or 2% chance of that hitting, that you like basically take out insurance on it, and then if it hits, then the insurance company takes the hit.
It's like that company that had pandemic insurance before COVID, and they were like the only one who had it. And it was just like, it was probably an accident that they bought it, but then they were the only company that was like actually insured for a pandemic level thing. It was just like, it's funny how stuff like that happens, but I don't know. I just feel like they probably figured they couldn't top it, and maybe they're just so all in on the traders. I think what happened probably is, with the traders now having a person civilian level version that's going to be on NBC, I think that's probably replacing Deal or No Deal Island.
Yeah. I guess that's kind of where it goes. Find your hit and then milk your hits, like, kind of like we see with movies, like, make a bunch of sequels to the franchise everybody loves.
It's like Real Housewives, man. There's a million versions. They're doing that with traders now.
Once you find something that works, do that instead of trying to build something new. It's kind of sad, actually. Poor Dondi, man.
Poor Dondi. Anyway, if you want to join that Survivor chat over on ChatBCC Survivor49.chat, it's fun.
It's a lot of fun. I really like. I was using, again, I'm like using it throughout the episode, and then I'm like I'm so into the chat that I have to like pause the show and then like backtrack a little bit, because you want to stay up to date on, like, I don't know. It's a fun way to experience. I kind of want to get like I haven't seen one, but for like sports, I feel like this would be great.
Yeah.
Like, if you just have like,
I think they're trying to build it out to that. I think I saw when I looked at it the one time.
Like, if there's like a Niners chat going and you have like former Niners players or podcast hosts or something, that could be really fun.
You got to call ChatBCC.
Yeah, I know. Well, the Niners have a bye this week. Well, maybe that's more time for it.
More time for people to talk shit. But yeah, anyway, so Survivor49.chat. If you want to be a patron, patreon.com/thespecialist. We got half price until the finale, which is 2 weeks away. So you got until December 17th, half price. I know, Will. That's why your paycheck's so small.
Black Friday deal?
Black Friday deal. Black
or is it Cyber Monday?
Yeah, we're going all the way through. It's just Cyber December. But yeah, so check that out. Otherwise, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all tomorrow night with Brandon Donlin.
See ya.